Hi there, welcome to day 15 of Science Challenge. Today's Science Challenge, I'm going to explain to you how to make a micro-composter. So if you live in Milton Keynes, you might know, or an adult in the house might know, that they've stopped collecting the food waste this week. So what that means is now all of our food waste is going to go into the black bin liners. So I'm going to show you a way that you can actually compost some of your food waste. You might have a compost heap in the garden. If you do, brilliant. Or if you've got space, please build one. They're absolutely brilliant. But I'm going to show you a way to do it on a micro scale in your own home. Okay, so you're going to need a few things to do this. You're going to need 2 plastic bottles, at least 2. If you've got a third, I'm going to show you a way to incorporate a third plastic bottle as well to make it a little bit bigger. You're going to need some sharp scissors and adult supervision. You're going to need some sellotape. You're going to need a small piece of fabric. Now I've got here actually from an old pair of tights, actually from a fancy dress costume. So I've just cut a square or a rectangle out of some old tights and a rubber band. Okay. You're then also going to need a bit of waste and composter. I'll explain exactly what can go in these later. Okay, so you're going to need to cut your bottles in a certain way in order to make your micro-composter. So the first bottle, I've already done these cuts just because to save time on the video. Okay, so your first bottle, you're going to cut on the straight part. So when I'm talking about these bottles, I'm going to talk about the straight part and the tapered part. So the tapered part is where they start to go in. We're going to be using some of those tapered parts. Okay, so on bottle number 1, you're going to cut the bottle on the straight part. You're going to have a fairly, probably about a third at the bottom and 2/3 at the top. You're not going to need the lid of this one. And on this one, you're going to take your piece of cloth, your piece of mesh, your piece of fabric, whatever you've got, and your rubber band, and you're going to pop that over the top. Okay, this is going to form the base of our micro-composter. This is going to let liquid through, but not the contents of our micro-composter. I'm just going to try and do that twice, just to hold that on really nicely and tightly. Okay, so this is going to be the bottom, and it's going to sit in the base of the bottle. Okay, so that's going to be the first part of our micro-composter. Okay, at this point, I'm going to just pause the video so what I've just done is I've just taped these 2 parts together. So now I've got a secure base to my micro-composter. So I'm going to eventually be putting my compost in here. Any fluid is going to drip down into this section here. The fluid that will collect in the bottom as well is really good to put on the garden. Anything you're growing at home, it's really good, full of nutrients. So use the fluid as well. But you can always take that tape off, empty this out if it's getting full. Okay, so that's the first part. So now I'm going to take my second bottle. Okay, so my second bottle, I'm going to cut the base off it, but where it started to taper. Okay, so where it started to get thinner. If you've only got 2 bottles, this is the final cut, okay? And you're going to place that tapered edge into your other bottle, okay? So it should fit. And just pop, okay? So I fitted that one in, and now my micro-composter, if I've only got 2 bottles, my micro-composter is pretty much ready to use. I'm just going to tape again to hold it together. So if I've only got 2 bottles, I've now got a place at the top where I can put my food. It's much better if you can get the food that you're putting in into small pieces. So actually having a top like this encourages it to be a bit smaller. Okay, now I'm going to show you, if you've got 3 bottles, what you can do to make your micro-composter a little bit easier to access. Okay, so if you've got a third bottle, you're going to cut your third bottle approximately in half on the straight part, and we're going to be using this section as a lid on the top. Okay, so that will go on the top like that. So I'm now going to cut my second bottle on this part here, so it's tapered, so I can get a nice fit on here, and then I'm going to have a nice easy lid to get food in a little bit more easily than if I've only got 2 bottles. Okay, so if we just pause. Okay, so with a 3 bottle micro-composter, what I've done is I've just taken the top off my bottle. Just be really careful. When you cut these bottles, you can end up with some really sharp edges. It might be useful just to put a bit of sellotape around there just to make sure it's not sharp. Okay, so with my micro-composter now, I can use this section as a lid. Okay, and again, I can take that on, but in a way that means I can easily take it off. And then I get a nice seal so that I'm not going to get much smell out of that. Okay, one final thing that we need to do is we just need to punch some holes into our micro-composter. Okay, so depending on what you've got, you might need a sharp object. Again, ask an adult to help you with this. I'm going to pause. So you're going to need quite a few holes in here. That's to let the oxygen in. Because inside this micro-composter, we're going to have lots of bacteria that's breaking down our food waste. Okay, so let's think about the things that can go in our micro-composter. What we're talking about here is things like vegetable peelings, fruit peelings. So I've got the peel of a satsuma here. I've got some tops off a leek. I've got the bottom off a leek. I've got some old bits of cucumber and leftovers. These are going to go straight into your composter. Okay, so you can build it all the way up to the top. Now, as you can see, I've cut mine into quite small pieces. Okay, they will break down considerably faster if they're in small pieces. Okay, so the smaller the pieces, the quicker they'll break down. Things that you can't put in here. You can't put any cooked food in your micro-composter. You can't put any meat, okay, or fish. And don't put any bread or dairy products, nothing like that. Only really vegetable and fruit, raw vegetable and fruit peelings. Okay, so over time, you can fill this right up. You might need to add a little bit of moisture. As you can see, the inside of my bottles are wet because I rinsed them. That's absolutely fine. A bit of moisture in there is a good thing. Okay, and over time, what you'll see is actually the volume reduce as this is broken down. You'll no longer be able to tell what everything is. It will sort of just become a brownish solid. Especially as some of our liquid will be coming out. Okay, so as it composts, it will break down, the volume will decrease. It will take a little bit of time. Once you've filled this up, which might take a week or two, depending on how much food waste you've got in your house, you'll then have to pop your lid on it. Okay, whenever you're not putting anything in, pop your lid on. You might want to tape it so that you've got a bit of a seal, and then you're going to leave it. And as the volume will drop, okay, as the things are broken down, and eventually you'll have some nice compost to put on your garden. Okay, and isn't it great that it means that this isn't going into landfill? Okay, well, good luck. Let me know how you get on with your micro-composter. Oh, just to say, when it's full, you might want to leave it outside rather than keeping it inside. You could always add more bottles onto it as well if you find that you've got more food waste and you've got more plastic bottles lying around. A good way of using your plastic bottles and recycling them. Anyway, good luck. Let me know how you get on.